Welcome back to Drive Your Journey. I'm your host, Fred Arnold. I'm joined by Gerardo Barrios. Gerardo is one of the coaches and founders of 40 Years Racing and also a USA Triathlon certified coach. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fred.
Also a personal friend of mine. He's my personal coach for the Ironman series and endurance racing. So really want to talk to you about your story of getting into endurance racing and specifically the triathlon, the first triathlon you did, which I love the story.
Well, I was interested in learning how to swim, and I wanted to face my fears of, it's something that made me uncomfortable, and so I decided I wanted to do a triathlon. And I knew that for my first Ironman, I wanted to do something that was far away, something that scared me a little bit. So I chose Ironman Western Australia. And that's Western Australia is a place known for sharks, and the swim was 1 mile out into the ocean, and so that was one
mile into the ocean, and let me just tell you, 1 mile into the ocean is, when you look back, is a long ways.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah. So when I met Gerardo, and I tell the story all the time, I met Gerardo, came in for advice on a mortgage loan, and we're sitting, and I said, I want to do this Ironman race, and I said, oh, by the way, what do you do for a living? Oh, well, I'm a triathlon coach. That's what I do for a living. And then I'm like, wow. He said, well, why don't we sign you up right now? And it was a small window, and it's interesting how the world works, right? It was a small window when Oceanside, which is only open for a couple of days, was open. We signed up for it, and I was on my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And would you not say that is one of the biggest challenges when somebody says, I want to do a marathon, I want to do a half marathon, I want to do an endurance race? Sign up for it.
Yeah, you got to pull the trigger. You have to make the decision that that's what you're going to do, and let things fall where they may in terms of your preparation, and plan it out. Have a goal. How long it's going to take you to do the certain things in order to achieve that goal, and that's the first thing. And because people will say, I'll do it. Maybe I'll sign up tomorrow. Or I'll sign up next week. Before you know it, it can sell out, or you've waited too long and now you don't have enough time to prepare, and then all of a sudden you get into a panic mode, and then the training is not good, and then you come up with an excuse not to do it, or you show up and you're like, oh, if I finish, then I'll be happy with that. Right.
And then you're never that happy with that because you wanted, typically you're striving for excellence, right?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I found is, and you mentioned this to me, you have to have a reason.
Yeah, you have to have a reason for doing these things. And it should be a reason for you, not for somebody else. It has to be something that comes from inside and intrinsic, that you want to get something out of it. Because along the way, people aren't going to understand your journey. They don't know what you're going through or what the training entails, even if they see it on social media, or if they see your workouts and they see you sweating or whatever. But the reality is that it's a lot of work, and it's not pretty, and sometimes you have bad days, and you have to be ready to take it on every day, one day after the next.
Yeah, to tackle that day. So let's talk about a triathlon. There's different levels. Let's talk about a sprint triathlon. Typically that is what? It's
a short race. It's usually about a 500-meter swim, 800-meter, half a mile at the most, and then a 12-mile bike ride or so, and then a 5K run.
But it's something, if you want to get into it, something to start with. Yeah. If you've never done anything like that.
Oh yeah, it's just it's quick. It's a sprint, not because you have to go really hard. It's a sprint because it's the shortest of the distances. Right. And so that's just that's to get people excited about it. And if that's something that they really like, they can step up to the next level and or longer distance.
Yeah, and I know you had me set up with a lot of Olympic distances, events. Which is, I think it was about a 1 to 1.2 on the swim.
Yeah, it's a 1,500-meter swim.
Oh, it's a 15, okay.
Yeah,
a little bit under a mile.
Yeah, 40K bike or 25 miles, and then 10K or 10K. A 6.2-mile run.
Yeah.
And that's still a lot of work. And typical average athlete will do it in about 3 hours. So yeah, it's almost like a marathon.
Yeah,
so
huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it is.
It is. For most people. And then let's talk about the Ironman series, because that's what really a lot of people that come to you, other than the endurance 500K races. Tell Ray, congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
Your brother just finished a 50K. Which is how many miles?
It was 31 miles.
31 miles, yeah. So let's talk about the half Ironman, 70.3 and the full.
So you have a half Ironman is a 1.2 mile swim and a 56-mile bike and a 13.1 mile run or a half marathon. So that's why they call it a half. So a half is exactly half of a full. Full is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a marathon at the end of 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
By the way, all marathons are 26.2 miles. There are no shorter marathons.
There's no. Yes.
Yeah, so that's
yes.
it.
And when we started this journey with Gerardo, I signed up for that race, but you wouldn't let me do a full Ironman for a year and a half.
Yes, people jump in, and your body has to be prepared for the pounding that it takes. You have to do the training. You can't just show up and say, I want to do an Ironman. You can get away with it on a marathon, but even a marathon, that's really painful.
Yeah.
But
Can't walk the next day.
You can't,
Yeah.
or for the next couple of weeks, and then your body goes through a lot of changes, and so you don't want to tear your body down because it takes a long time to recover if you don't do the proper training. The intensity, the duration, the frequency in terms of the training has to be managed. And whether you follow a plan online or you get a coach so that you can finish stronger, then you still have to follow it, and you still need quality time to do it. Can you do it in a year? Yeah, most people can do it in a year because these events are designed for 70, 80-year-old people to be finishing as well. So you're a 40-year-old, fairly fit guy. You're going to finish with enough time. It's just a matter of how strong you want to finish.
And how many people pass you. Now, let me just tell you, if you're a young male and you don't train right, you're going to have a lot of people older than you, and I'm talking like grandparents' age, if you will, passing you, and you're going to go, geez, I wish I would have trained a little more.
Yeah.
It's a very humbling race, let me just tell you. Before we jump to a quick break, I did want to touch upon getting buy-in from those, your loved ones, or if you want to do this endurance race, and how important that is.
Yeah, so you do need to have that conversation with your friends, your family, your husband, your wife. It has to be a decision that you made together because it's going to take away time from you and your regular everyday thing. 10 to 15, maybe up to 20 hours of training sometimes in a week just to get the distances down. It requires a change of schedule, weekends that you can't do certain things, parties that you might not be able to do. Again, it's a temporary goal. It's not something that you're going to do forever. So it's just something that you plan ahead.
Well, wait a second. I'm 5 years into it, and I don't plan on slowing down.
That's right. So some people go into it thinking that it's the only time they're going to do it. And then they don't realize that it becomes a way of life if you really enjoy being around the people and enjoy doing the sport. And of course, the more you enjoy it, the smarter you have to be about it so that you can maintain those relationships and you can stay healthy because it can be you can reach a level where it's unhealthy how much you're doing.
Yeah, unhealthy. We're going to jump to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to actually get into the different disciplines and really break them down. We'll be right back.